If you want to understand why Brazil vs Japan may be one of the most fascinating matches of the 2026 FIFA World Cup, look beyond the names on the shirts. This is not just a game between two nations. It is a collision between football tradition and football ambition. Brazil enters the match carrying one of the most powerful symbols in sports. 5 World Cup titles, generations of legends, a global reputation built over decades. Every tournament begins with Brazil among the favorites. Japan arrives with something very different, not history. No 8th. Before the tournament, Japanese midfielder Daichi Kamada made headlines by repeating the team's ultimate goal, winning the FIFA World Cup. To many observers, the statement sounded unrealistic. Japan had never reached a semi-final, let alone a final. But that reaction reveals an important misunderstanding. People often judge football teams by what they have achieved before. Elite teams judge themselves by what they believe they can achieve next. That difference matters. Japan's rise has not happened by accident. Over the last 2 decades, the country has invested heavily in player development, coaching education, and tactical sophistication. Japanese players now compete in major European leagues and regularly face world-class opponents. The result is a team that no longer sees itself as an outsider, and that is what makes this matchup so compelling. Brazil enters the knockout stage under Carlo Ancelotti, one of the most successful coaches in football history. His influence can already be seen in the team's balance. Brazil has attacked with freedom while maintaining greater defensive stability than some previous generations. The stars remain obvious. Vinicius Jr. brings pace and creativity. The midfield controls rhythm and possession. The defense has looked increasingly organized as the tournament progresses. Most importantly, Brazil has demonstrated maturity. Against weaker opponents, they have dominated possession. Against stronger resistance, they have shown patience. That adaptability is often what separates contenders from champions. Yet Japan presents a challenge that statistics alone may not fully explain. The Samurai Blue play with extraordinary discipline. Their defensive structure limits space. Their transitions are quick. Their players move collectively rather than relying on individual brilliance. That style has produced famous World Cup upsets before. The near miss in analyzing this game is assuming that technical talent alone decides knockout matches. History suggests otherwise. Knockout football rewards organization, concentration, and emotional control. A single mistake can erase 90 minutes of dominance. Japan understands this. Brazil understands it too. That is why the tactical battle could become more important than the individual battle. Japan will likely attempt to compress space between the lines, forcing Brazil to attack through narrow channels. Brazil will try to stretch the field, isolate defenders, and create opportunities for their attackers in 1-versus-1 situations. The first goal may completely transform the match. If Brazil scores early, the game could open dramatically. Japan would be forced to take greater risks, creating more space for Brazilian counterattacks. If Japan scores first, pressure could shift instantly. Suddenly, Brazil would be chasing the game, while Japan focuses on protecting a historic lead. And this is where the psychological element becomes fascinating. Brazil carries expectation. Japan carries opportunity. One team is expected to win. The other team is expected to challenge. That difference often affects how players experience pressure. The larger story extends beyond this tournament. Brazil wants another world title to reinforce its place at football's summit. Japan wants to prove that intelligent development and long-term plan can eventually overcome historical barriers. One represents established greatness. The other represents emerging possibility. By the final whistle, one dream will continue and another will end. But regardless of the result, this match offers something valuable for football fans. It reminds us that the gap between football's traditional powers and its rising challengers continues to shrink. For decades, Brazil inspired the world to dream. Now Japan arrives with a dream of its own. The question is no longer whether Japan belongs on this stage. The question is whether they are ready to change the story of the tournament.